In the early hours of June 24, 2025, Iran's Revolutionary Guard launched a bold, state-sanctioned missile attack on U.S. military bases. Ballistic missiles struck Al-Asad Air Base in Iraq and Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, both critical to American operations. This was a direct public confrontation, not a shadow war. Sirens and explosions shattered the night for U.S. troops as the world watched in alarm. Iran quickly claimed responsibility, calling it Operation Martyr's Revenge, a promised response to recent U.S. actions. The attacks marked a dangerous turning point, pushing the region closer to open conflict. The world now wondered, was this the end of retaliation, or the start of something far worse? In a brazen display of force, Iran launched a significant missile attack. Over 24 ballistic missiles were fired, including the highly accurate Fateh 110 and the Qiam-1 variants, showcasing the diversity and sophistication of Iran's arsenal. These missiles represent a serious threat, launched from deep within its own territory, making interception more challenging. The launch sites were dispersed to avoid counterattacks. The coordinated barrage was specifically designed to overwhelm U.S. air defenses, testing the limits of their capabilities and response times. It was a calculated risk with potentially devastating consequences. Some missiles successfully penetrated the defensive shield, finding their marks with alarming accuracy. The impact resulted in significant explosions and widespread damage at both bases, disrupting operations and causing chaos. The scale of destruction was considerable. Al-Asad and Al Udeid, strategic locations for U.S. forces in the region, suffered direct hits to aircraft hangars, leaving them in ruins and exposing the vulnerability of parked aircraft. Runways, rendering them unusable and crippling the base's ability to launch or receive aircraft, and other key infrastructure including fuel depots and communication centers, further hampering operations. Fortunately, early warning systems functioned as intended, allowing personnel to quickly reach reinforced bunkers and shelters, minimizing the potential for fatalities. But despite these precautions, a number of injuries were reported among the personnel stationed at the bases. Post-strike satellite images revealed the extent of the damage, showing numerous craters and completely destroyed structures, painting a grim picture of the attack's effectiveness. The damage forced an immediate halt to all operations and necessitated urgent and extensive repairs to restore functionality. The pinpoint precision and the sheer scale of the attack served as a stark reminder and showcased Iran's rapidly advancing missile technology and overall military capabilities. U.S. military planners are now grappling with a sobering reality that no base in the region is truly out of reach of Iran's growing missile arsenal. The immediate focus is on recovery and damage assessment, but the long-term strategic implications of this attack are profound and demand a comprehensive re-evaluation of U.S. defense posture in the Middle East. This attack, a barrage of missiles aimed at U.S. forces, was Iran's direct and calculated response. It was a move that sent shockwaves across the globe, raising fears of a wider conflict. This was in direct retaliation to the U.S. killing of General Qasem Soleimani, a highly influential and powerful Iranian military commander, which occurred just days earlier in a U.S. drone strike. The death of Soleimani marked a significant escalation in the already tense relationship between the two nations. Tehran viewed the targeted strike as an act of war, a blatant violation of their sovereignty and a direct challenge to their national security. The Iranian leadership vowed severe retaliation, promising a response that would match the magnitude of their loss and send a clear message to the United States. The U.S. claimed it acted to prevent imminent attacks, asserting that Soleimani was planning actions that would have endangered American lives and interests in the region. However, Iran and many others saw it as an unacceptable provocation, a reckless move that disregarded international norms and risked plunging the region into further chaos. Years of steadily rising tensions, including the U.S. withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal, the imposition of crippling economic sanctions, and a series of proxy conflicts across the Middle East had inexorably set the stage for this dangerous crisis. Both sides had escalated their rhetoric to a fever pitch, engaging in a war of words that further inflamed passions and hardened positions. This left little room for de-escalation or compromise, making a peaceful resolution increasingly difficult to achieve. Iran framed its missile strikes not as an act of aggression, but as a matter of national honor, a necessary response to defend its sovereignty and dignity. They presented it as an act of self-defense, a justified reaction to what they perceived as an existential threat. The US, in turn, warned of massive retaliation if attacked, drawing a red line and signaling its willingness to use overwhelming force to protect its interests. With diplomacy effectively sidelined and communication channels broken, a military confrontation, a direct clash between the two nations, became almost inevitable, a tragic culmination of years of mistrust and escalating tensions. The strike sent shockwaves through global markets, triggering a cascade of reactions across different sectors. Investors grew increasingly nervous as they tried to assess the potential long-term consequences. Oil prices surged past $90 a barrel, reflecting fears of supply disruption and the potential for a major energy crisis. The markets reacted swiftly, with analysts predicting further increases if the situation escalated. The threat to the Strait of Hormuz, a vital oil choke point through which a significant percentage of the world's oil supply passes, became more real than ever. Any disruption here could have catastrophic effects on the global economy. Diplomats scrambled. The UN Security Council called an emergency session seeking to de-escalate the tensions and find a peaceful resolution to the escalating conflict. The world watched with bated breath, and world leaders urged restraint, calling for calm heads and a return to diplomatic channels to prevent further bloodshed and instability in the region. U.S. allies in the Gulf went on high alert, increasing their readiness and coordinating with international partners to ensure the security of the region, while Iraq condemned both the Iranian and earlier U.S. strikes, positioning itself as a neutral party seeking to mediate between the warring factions. Airlines rerouted flights to avoid the region's airspace, underscoring the immediate civilian impact and the potential dangers of operating in a conflict zone. NATO condemned Iran's attack, and humanitarian groups warned of a potential refugee crisis if war spreads, fearing a mass displacement of people seeking safety from the escalating violence. The world is united in anxiety, but divided on blame, highlighting the complex geopolitical landscape and the challenges of finding common ground. The urgent challenge: find a diplomatic off-ramp before the next strike, before the situation spirals further out of control and leads to a full-blown regional conflict. All eyes are now on Washington, awaiting the U.S. president's response. Will America escalate militarily or seek a measured diplomatic path? Iran signaled it may be done, unless attacked again, offering a narrow window for de-escalation. Both militaries remain on high alert, with new deployments and maximum readiness. The risk of miscalculation is dangerously high. A single error could ignite a wider war. Third-party mediators may try to open back-channel talks to prevent disaster. The key question: have both sides achieved their aims, or is the cycle of violence now unstoppable? The coming days will decide whether the region steps back from the brink or plunges into war.